Welcome to Sow Chatty. I'm Kerry from Dog on the Plot.
And I'm Claire from the Farmyard Garden.
Hey Claire, how are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. I'm all right.
Cheers to you.
Oh yes,
Happy
we now
Wednesday.
have
Happy hump day.
Oh, definitely. I
What you
do
got
love
in there?
these mugs. The same old Kerry. It's always black coffee for me.
Well, I've gone for a chai latte today.
Oh, that's very posh.
And it's delicious. Delicious. So we had a lot of response to our mugs last week.
We did.
People seemed very impressed with them. They liked the good size of them.
Yes.
And we had a lot of lovely comments last week. We thought it was a great episode, that we answered lots of questions. There was lots of variety in the episode. And it was really lovely to get some of the feedback, both in the live chat and in the comments afterwards. And we just wanted to share Emma's comment because it encapsulated, I think, what we feel a little bit about this channel. And she said, in a world that often feels hopelessly polarized, you two are a shining example of how to hold differing opinions with respect, understanding and kindness, which was so lovely. And we think the channel as a whole, seems to do that in the live chat and in the comments. There's so much respect and kindness in this space. So we were very touched by that, and a lot of the other comments as well.
I feel quite emotional just hearing you read it out as well, which I did when I first saw it. I immediately pinned that comment. I mean, there's loads of comments and sometimes it's hard to decide who to pin, isn't it? But I just saw that one and I thought, yeah, I really like that. That sums up the entire ethos that we're bringing to this space. So yes, thank you, Emma, and everybody else for your comments. It's so good to be back.
And in the spirit of kindness and giving, we have our first giveaway.
We do. It's exciting.
I'm going to hand over to you now, Claire, because you are sorting out the giveaway. So do you want to know, shall we say what it is we're giving away first, and then how to enter?
Well, I mean, you've put a poll up, haven't you, today? And you've asked,
but it's slightly misleading.
It is slightly misleading, but what was it? 72% of people.
72% want the mug. They want the mug, Claire, which is, brilliant. Quite a few people wanted the seeds. And obviously, if you're a regular viewer, you know that this is all come about because we saw the advent calendar for a seed advent calendar in Sainsbury's. And then the loofah, because of course we're loofah mad. And yay! That's such a teeny tiny one. And I also put a birdhouse gourd on, but we're actually not giving away a birdhouse gourd because that would be expensive postage.
It would. But I do have the seed calendar here. And it's amazing. It's amazing. It even comes with it. Oh, obviously, this is a seed tray so that you can sow directly into it. So it's really, really exciting.
It had that. We were looking for the Sainsbury's one. We both went out and hunted for it, but it must have sold out instantly. But you luckily grabbed one of the B&Q ones before they sold out.
My sister spotted it. I didn't. And I'm also going to be giving away a loofah soap. So we have a seed calendar, loofah soap, loofah, some loofah seeds.
It's a very loofah themed.
The Sow Chatty mug, obviously, is the thing. And then what I thought, because we had so many comments about this, and mine is actually switched on, so I'm picking it up very carefully because it's very hot. I'm going to also throw in a heated coaster. This one needs cleaning, but people were really intrigued by the heated coaster for the drinks. So I thought if they're having a big mug to be able to drink along with us during the live chats or while they're watching our episodes, then maybe they need to have their drink heated up as well. So I'm going to throw in a heated coaster. So I think that's a really good bundle for our first giveaway. Now, unfortunately, because we're posting it from our home address, it's not being direct ship, drop shipping, I think they call it, don't they? We will only be able to allow this particular giveaway to go to UK residents, unfortunately. It's just simply down to postage. So I apologise for those of you that are overseas, but hopefully we'll have something coming up for you later on.
So how do we enter, Claire?
Well, Kerry, how do we enter? I think we've decided that we're going to let people enter in two different ways, haven't we? So if you head onto our community page on the actual channel, click on the Visit Community tab. I'll just put it on the screen now so you can see what you're looking for. post something. Maybe it's your best harvest of this year or just some memory of the season that you want to share with the entire community. And that will count as one of your entries. And then another way to enter is just to comment on the actual video. And we'll be able to wheedle through it to see who is UK resident or not. I mean, if you want to tag your comments to say UK based, and that would really help us. But that is just 2 options. So you get an extra entry for commenting on
if you
both
do
things.
Yeah.
And we're going to draw this next week. We'll put it all into a generator, and this will be drawn next week. We'll announce the winner. And hopefully, and hopefully it'll all be posted and delivered in time for the 1st of December.
Yeah. Brilliant. How exciting. Our first giveaway.
It is exciting.
Well,
I hope it's the first of many.
That's hot. So what's hot in your garden, Claire?
Carrots. I mean, they're not because I've just harvested them, haven't I? But those carrots, they've been in the ground since March. So I keep seeing people harvesting things and they've split because we have had a lot of rain over the last 4 or 5 weeks, haven't we? And, you're really pushing it, having them in the ground for so long. So, I was expecting to have lots of split ones or chewed by slugs, but they were just perfect. And, just love them. I love carrots. As I keep saying it's my favourite harvest of the year. So, it was nice. So that's what's hot.
I want you to put on the screen your fabulous, huge carrots and then the 2 I pulled in my video this week.
I will do that.
Just a perfect illustration of the differences between our gardens, Claire.
It could all be different next year.
Could be. What's not hot in your garden then?
The weather. Again, it's a bit cold. It's gone cold, hasn't it? It's suddenly gone very, very cold. It's just general things, isn't it? I'm finding that the garden looks nicer to be tidier than it has been looking for the last few weeks. Everything's gotten quite raggedy muffin, but we had that storm, Claudia, come through last week, and it's done for so many of my flowers. All of the straw flowers were snapped by it. Some of the dahlias were snapped. Obviously, it took the obelisks out, which has snapped some of the stems on the rose. Not so bothered about that because it needs to be pruned shortly anyway. But I guess the weather really, it was just a bit of a shocker, obviously, including the greenhouse. We've never had storm damage in the greenhouse before, and to get them both like that. But anyway, it was easily remedied, wasn't it, Kerry?
It was in 6.5 hours.
I know.
You could repair a greenhouse in 6.5 hours.
Thought we did quite well. How long does it take you to repair a greenhouse?
I feel that when you said that in the video, it was very, very pointed.
It wasn't at the time. Well, to be fair, it really was,
It's only taken me 11 years, Claire, and I still haven't done it yet. So 11 years ongoing.
No, that's what made me do that outro in the video, because I hadn't actually filmed the outro, if you remember. And I messaged you and you were like, I can't believe you've done that in 12 hours and it's taken me 12 years. And I was like, what do you mean 12 hours? It was only 6.5 hours. So it wasn't pointed, but it was definitely inspired by our conversation. So yeah.
One day, Claire, one day mine will be done.
One year.
You had 2 to repair. I've got 3 to repair.
I mean, to be fair, it's very easy to just stick a few panes of glass in. The worst thing was on the greenhouse that was my father-in-law's, so the one that had got the peach tree in, that doesn't have the little lip that you have to push the rubber trim on. It's a very old greenhouse. That actually has some sticky foam stuff that you had to put on, which was well and truly stuck to the glass. So actually the hardest thing was getting the glass out, because it was a bottom pane that was broke. We had to take the top pane out to get at the bottom pane. And that was quite literally a pain in itself. But no, it's done.
I think this is the difference between you and I, because I remember when you put that greenhouse together, the new one, and you had all the beading and you did all the rubber around each of the bits of the glass and stuff. I've done that on none of mine. Like literally the glass is just against the frame. There's no foam, there's no rubber, there's no nothing. And that's the difference between you and I. Your attention to detail and my willingness to cut corners.
Yeah, I don't know if it's attention to detail or I just like following the rules. I'm not a rule breaker. I'm not as rebellious as I think I might be.
Very precise.
It was nice to get it done.
Yeah, shame about the glass in the greenhouse, because it's always an expense then as well, isn't it? So
It is.
what's hot and not in mine then? I was a bit struggling with hot because obviously it's got cold. I do feel like I did all the jobs that I needed to do before the cold has hit, so I'm quite happy with that. And I did notice, and I'm at Liam's obviously at the moment, so she'll be sad to go home and see this dead, which I'm sure it will be. But I had a beautiful little fuchsia flower still going. It looks so pretty and just a singular flower like that. But yes, I'm sure it'll all be over by the time I get back. My knot was my mouldy Andean pumpkin. Don't know what happened there.
Grim.
It's proper grim, and I still haven't moved it. It's still sitting there. So I've got my Halloween pumpkin at the back of the garden, up on its post, and I've got this Andean at the very front of the garden, moulding there. So my plot is sandwiched by two moulding pumpkins. Well,
I was going to say, do you think the Andean pumpkin was so scared of being disemboweled and put at the back of the plot that it decided to just sort itself out first?
Maybe. It's such a weird plant, though, that this was one of the ones that Ali gave to me when we met up at Malvern. And so she'd given me the Dill's Atlantic Giant, which I got 3 pumpkins off. And I believe when she gave me that plant, there was a tiny, tiny pumpkin already growing on it. And then this Andean one, which we went in at the same time, took absolutely ages to get going. There was a bit of foliage, it wasn't really creeping very much. And then it got a spurt on, but it seemed to be all foliage. And then I saw this pumpkin. It was already a good size. And I thought, oh my goodness, it has made this pumpkin. It was on the path, so it wasn't like it was on damp soil. But like you said, we've had so much rain. And I hope that, everybody's harvested their pumpkins before these frosts are hitting and the rain has done damage like it did to my poor Andean.
Well, there's snow forecast later in the week in certain areas of the country, isn't there? So, we might go and suddenly feel like we're really in the right season, because it's felt so mild for so long. And then all of a sudden it's woof.
Yeah, I was thinking back, because do you remember when I released my video last year, which was me picking my pumpkins? It was like the pumpkin harvest. Not that I had much to harvest, because it was such a poor year for me in pumpkins. And it was after I'd come back from the half-term holiday that I went on. So that would have been just towards the end before Halloween. And I put my video out and it didn't do very well, did it? And you were like, well, everyone's already harvested their pumpkins. You were a bit late. And look now, we're almost, I don't know, 3 weeks later, and the pumpkins were still out there.
It's strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's been a strange season for many different reasons. And I know I was so upset a couple of months ago at the idea of the season coming to an end, but now I've gone to that real tatty stage. Now I'm feeling pleased to be clearing away, and even though it looks barren on the plot, it's just quite nice to see it looking tidy and fresh and awaiting for the new season, which, scarily is not that far away, is it? Where are we? 5 weeks from the longest day. It's not going to be long, is it? It's not going to be long.
Not long till we're doing them Boxing Day onions.
No, we had a question about sowing onions. Well, what we can sow, and it was the onions was the comment then. So Boxing Day onions won't be long before we do those. No.
And my plot isn't quite obviously cleared up yet. I'm waiting for the frost to do the job. So when I get back to Leicester, I'm hoping that the frost has knocked back all the nasturtiums, all the things that kind of are not winter hardy, and I can just gather together all that sloppy, slimy, horrible foliage and move it over to the compost heap. So I'm letting the weather kind of do it for me.
Do you do that with the weeds as well?
Down.
Do you want the weather to knock the weeds back? Because I like to try and...
It'd be nice if it did.
Well, it does, but I'm trying to get the pernicious weeds out of the ground now. I want to know where they are. I want to dig them up. I don't want them to be coming up next spring, right around the base of your onions or your garlic, and then uprooting those to try and get them out. So I quite like him to get on top of the weeds before they die back. I mean, it's all right with the annual ones, but your dandelions and thistles and things, I want to try and get those out of the ground.
Well, there may be perennial weeds underneath all of the mass of stuff that is currently growing. I'm hoping not, because one of the points of having lots of foliage and lots of things growing is that it keeps the weeds down. So we shall see when that all dies back, if there's stuff in there that needs pulling out. But I haven't seen many docks, haven't seen much dandelions. I've only got my purposefully planted dandelion, my pink dandelion, which I must go check, because I keep getting distracted by the mashua flowers because they're looking so fabulous at the moment. But the pink dandelion is down at the bottom near it, and I keep forgetting to look underneath and see if it's doing anything. But chickweed seems to be the weed that has taken over my plot, and I think that will get knocked back by the frosts.
Yeah.
Okay, what about bargains then, Claire?
I don't have any
I'm
bargains
guessing
this week.
It's been expenses this week, what with the greenhouse glass?
It has, and I'm still smarting over the greenhouse. So I'd rang up a fairly local glazier, but they were in the nearest big town, which is Crewe to us. And I'd rang them up and yes, we've got them plenty in stock. We're expecting lots of greenhouse people coming in today. £7 a pane of glass. And I thought, £7 a pane of glass. That's not too bad. And then Duncan was in our proper little village, and there is literally a little shop in there, a couple of hairdressers, always a takeaway, and this tiny little hardware store. I mean, it's like it's out of the 50s. It's not changed in all of those years. And he popped in there while he was out getting his mother some milk. And he said, I've ordered some glass for you for the greenhouse. I went, what do you mean you've ordered glass? He said, they've got it in this shop in the village. And he said, it's £12 a pane. I was like, but that's nearly double the price of where I can get it from. And he said, no, I've told them we're having it now, so we're having it. So I had to suck that up and decide that I was supporting a local business. And so no bargains for me. I paid double the price that I had to do for some panes of glass.
But I suppose you got it immediately and Duncan brought it home for you, so you didn't have to go out.
Oh, no, he came home to get the camper to go in so that we could go and pick the glass up because he couldn't fit it in the Mini that he was in. So no, I still had to go and get it.
I was trying to look for a silver lining.
No, there was no silver
linings,
linings,
I feel bad also
Kerry.
telling you that my greenhouse glass man, £3 a pane.
Yes, I was going to say, I bet that isn't even the cheapest place. I bet they've put it up because they're expecting people to come in because there'd been a storm the night before. But I don't want to know how much it could have been. But I have some spare now as well. So if it happens again, I've got a few spare panes. Yeah, I've got a few spare panes.
Well, I'm not sure because I did a bulk buy with my greenhouse glass man. So I think I spent 60 quid and that should be enough to do all of my greenhouses, the bits that were missing.
I've just spent that for 5 panes.
I know. I'm sorry. Because this was quite a lot of glass. Yeah. And, but some of it's in Mark's greenhouse. Some of it's in my shed at home. And I've got to work out which bits are for which greenhouse now because they're all different size panes and things like that. And of course, when I bought the glass, I had it all written down in my book and stuff. And now it's like 8 months later, I've done nothing with it. And so, but winter project. My bargain is not of the week, it's of the day, Claire, because I didn't tell you this, but I snuck out earlier at lunchtime. Because normally we film earlier in the day, don't we? But we're doing a bit of an evening film today. And so, I took the opportunity to go to the garden centre while I'm in Derby. And I came home with this. It's a little bit Raggedy Ann because it was in the discounty bit. But every year I buy Liam a cyclamen to have over Christmas. And I thought this was a particularly pretty one with the variegated flowers, the two-tone. And this was meant to be £15 and it was reduced to 6. So
wow.
I was pretty happy with that. Liam will not be happy when he comes home. He's just generally not happy that I keep putting plants in his house. This is one of my plants. And I just keep bringing them and sneaking them into little places. He says he's got a 3-plant rule. And I should 3 is enough. I think this probably makes 6. So I'm well over my limit. But
it's so pretty.
It's so pretty. And although, sorry, I'm trying to get back in now. What was I going to say? It is pretty. And even though, so what I was doing as I was walking out of the garden centre to the car was picking out the slightly dead bits. By the time I got to the car, it looked a nice, happy, healthy plant.
Good.
Any daft things this week, Claire?
Well, we have just discovered one daft thing quite accidentally, and it's got nothing to do with gardening. So I've just had a lovely text from one of my best friends that said to me, my horse box has passed its MOT. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant, smashing. And then I thought, when's a camper due its MOT? So I just had a look on the DVL check, and actually the camper expired. Its MOT expired last week on the 12th of November. I was driving it at the weekend as well. Perhaps it's a good job I didn't go into the big town now, actually, to get the glass. So yeah, my daft thing is letting the MOT expire. And I'm going to say yet again, because I seem to do it all of the time. And it's because I bought it in August. So its tax is due in August. And I've never had a car that wasn't MOT'd at the time it was taxed before when you buy it new. And so I always forget about it. And it goes in as a service when I tax it. And then it's not due in MOT. And I think to myself, every year I say to Duncan, why don't we just have it MOT'd in August? I know it's doing it early, but just have it MOT'd. And he always says, don't be ridiculous. And now I've got an expired MOT and I am now a fugitive.
I think you need to put a reminder in your calendar or in your phone.
Yeah. That would be the simplest thing to do, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I always think you get a period of reprieve, but you don't, do you?
Not if you have an accident. Insurance will look for any reason to get out of it. So anyway, it's going tomorrow morning. It was a mercy call to the garage, and it is going tomorrow morning. And so, yeah. What about you? What's your daft thing? Because there has to be one.
Of course. If anybody has seen my video from last week, know what my daft thing is. It's
yes.
It's my reaction to a poor, defenseless, tiny mouse. No. A completely overreaction that, probably scared it half to death. But yes, I was scared half to death. I think it was the surprise of it. Here I am digging this bed in the polytunnel, expecting, hoping to find sweet potatoes that alas were not there. And instead I found a little mouse, and the mouse kind of just jumped out and scuttered off. And so it was the surprise that made me react in the way that I did, because I think if I had just come across a mouse that was just sitting there, I would have been like, oh, hello, mouse, and you're very cute, and been fine. But yeah, the unexpectedness of the situation was what created my rather
But it made me think, what I thought was funny about that is because you were wondering why there was a cat on your plot. I think we now know why there was a cat on your plot.
I'm like, oh, the cat's never come near me. They're like, we're going to put up with you in order to try and get to these mice. But I was very thankful as I tentatively dug through that there was no nest, because that was what I was worried about. It's happened to my mum once in the compost heap. She was emptying the compost and there was a nest of mice, and that was traumatic. So I really didn't want to have anything like that. But I think that little mouse was just enjoying the cover of the sweet potato foliage, and either it ate all the sweet potatoes or all I grew was foliage.
Well, I think mine is going to be the same. I'm probably going to harvest mine this week, and I'm expecting the same because they've grown so much foliage. I don't know if you watch Deb's veg plot. She's lovely, Deb isn't she, that comments, and she harvested her sweet potatoes. And what I did notice when she'd been showing pictures of the sweet potatoes during the season was that she has very little foliage in comparison to what we've had with ours. And you would think that would mean she hadn't got many sweet potatoes, but her harvest was immense. It was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So impressive. So I already think that I'm the same as you. I think my soil is too rich, fresh compost and whatever.
Yeah,
and I think I've grown foliage, but not any roots. So we shall see. We shall see.
Well, because Tanya at Lovely Greens, she grows good sweet potatoes and she has lots and lots of foliage in her polytunnel. So I didn't necessarily think having too much foliage would mean no potatoes. But Freedom Forest Farm, who we mentioned last week with the rhubarb and using the wood chip mulch, which you are now testing in your garden.
Yes.
They grew the most enormous sweet potatoes, like the size of pumpkins. They were just incredible. And they had grown them very deep those metal beds, very deep beds, and they said they'd mostly filled those beds with topsoil rather than compost. So again, like keeping the nutrition down is probably the way to go. So, oh well, I don't know if I'll give them another go next year. Oh, and spoiler, my cousin who also had the same sweet potato slips as the two of us, she didn't really get anything either.
No, I actually haven't seen anyone with a purple sweet potato get sweet potatoes, because Deb's was the orange fleshed sweet potato as well. So maybe I'll do different varieties next year and try them. But I would like to try them again, I have to say. I would like to give them a go. But I'm already speaking defensively, you know, I'm thinking that, or defeatistly, I'm thinking that I'm not going to have any sweet potatoes. But it's not looking good, is it?
You, Claire, though, you know, look at your carrots.
Carrots. I do love a carrot.
Have you got a carrot for your show and tell?
I have not. I've got something else for our show and tell. So we've just been talking, obviously, at the start of this episode about our giveaway. And it made me think that, obviously, only one person is going to win the mug. But so many people, 72% of the viewers that have answered the poll, have said that they would like a mug. So what we're going to do is actually release these for sale, and they will be available on our website. The links will be in the description, and you'll be able to go and purchase those. And I believe they do drop shipping in various countries, so you'll be able to buy those wherever you are. A few other little bits and bobs of merch on that website as well, and a few people that have seen my video will have noticed that I am wearing, or have been wearing, a hat. I've trialed this one out and I quite like it. It's so warm. So yeah, we'll be able to buy things like this. So my show and tell is merch, Kerry. We've got merch.
I've got merch. Where's my merch?
Do you want one?
Yeah.
Okay, go on then.
Oh,
you caught it.
Drop shipped.
Look at that. Better than Amazon delivery. It looks amazing. It looks amazing.
Warm. It is.
They are warm hats.
It's nice and
thick.
Are warm. Yeah. This is our prototype hat, isn't it, Claire?
It is, yes. Yeah, we've got some prototypes, but there's going to be lots of different things on there. And we're also going to be putting the logo without the coloured background on it so that it will go better on different coloured tops and things like that. So there's going to be a whole range. Please don't head to the website now. I know you want them, but please watch the end of the video and you can go and have a look at the website when you're finished. But they are live now, and I'm excited about it. Who thought that we would have merch? I've been talking about it for over 12 months on my own channel. I've got designs that my daughter has made for me as well, and I haven't gotten around to doing them. So maybe it will spur me on.
We thought it was especially nice to have merch, didn't we? On this, so because it's just because it's about building community and kind of we want our viewers to feel part of the Sow Chatty community. So it's nice to have merch for this. So.
Absolutely.
Okay, well that's my show and tell now too.
Okay.
So it means we can move on to our main topic of the week, which is work smarter, not harder. And
I love this.
This topic was inspired by obviously the fact that I have just recently installed a rather impressive irrigation system into my less than impressive polytunnel.
Can I just take a moment?
Commenting. Go on.
Can I just take a moment though to actually say I was super impressed at how much work you did to install that yourself. I think, kudos to you, Kerry, because I'm not saying that I have no faith in you whatsoever, but I did not expect you to be able to do as much as you did. I saw you with the drill in your hand, the screwdriver thing, and I was like, wow, Kerry's going for it. So yeah, well done. Well done. It looks an impressive piece of kit.
You couldn't quite tell because I'd hyperlapsed when I was using the drill, but I went back and forth to the greenhouse 3 or 4 times to change the length of the screws that I brought. It was so fast in the hyperlapse, though, you couldn't actually see that that's what I was doing. But I impressed myself a bit, but I wanted to do it like that because I wanted to see if somebody like me who does not install things like this this is well out of my comfort zone, could actually do it. And for the most part, I could. And as I talked about in the video, the instructions that were provided were for earlier models, and all the videos that they provide that you can follow along with, which was fine for various elements of putting the system in, didn't work for some of the other elements. And that's where it was less that I needed Mark to come and do it for me. I needed someone to talk it through with. And I think that's the thing about having two heads when you've got a problem solve.
Absolutely.
And of course, Mark is much more efficient with a drill than I am. So he did some of the drilling, and we figured out, it was my idea about how to fix the solar panel onto the side of the greenhouse, but he then put it up there. So I'm always very appreciative of Mark for all his help. And actually, this was one of the comments from one of the viewers, because we asked people how they work smarter, not harder. And I think it was Tamsin who said about accepting help when you need it. And I've rephrased there to accepting help when you need it. I think she put it like, I get my grown-up kids to help me. So yes, that's what I do with Mark. I accept the help that I ask him to give me. But so the irrigation system that I've put in is a big part of my work smarter, not harder, because it was a massive part of my summer watering the tomatoes in the polytunnel. I was there almost every day, if not every other day, working my way around in batches, watering those 60 tomatoes and those 3 sweet potato plants. But a waste of time that was. Although the foliage did look nice, I guess, and sheltered various rodents. But it should make just such a difference next year. All that time that I have spent watering those tomatoes, I can now spend on other things. And I mean, we've talked about this, about things like the pronabos, things like the harvest system, that because we make these YouTube channels, we're so lucky enough to be able to get them to review. And we've kind of thought about the price of tag on some of those things and whether we would have actually gone out and bought them. And often you don't know actually until you've got them, whether they were worth investing in. And we had our reservations about the pronabos, and we were complete converts to those. And this irrigation system, like, I'm a low-tech plot. This is probably not something that I would have thought of even to do. And now I've managed to do it. I've got it installed. And I actually think, when I think of all the time it's going to save me, it's worth it. It's worth it. Yeah.
And it's not just time though, Kerry, because obviously we know that you have what is known as a glass back, and so it will help you with your back as well, won't it? Because it's not even like you're watering with a hose pipe, is it? At the moment you're watering by lugging watering cans, and I know the standpipe isn't that far away from your plot, but even so, the physical act of carrying the watering cans, and the way you have to sort of, to tip them to start pouring them, and it's
the picking them up off the ground. Once you dip them into the watering point, you've got to put one down to then dip the other, and that getting down and then pulling them up on the floor. And I have no core, Claire. I have no core. I could do with building one, but I have none. So that's why a lot of the strain goes onto my back when I do that. But also, I can save my back in that way, which means I can kind of use it for other things, like planting things out in a timely manner, which was one of the other comments that we got. Was it Lynn?
Yeah,
it was Lynn who almost verbatim said what Claire says to me, that is, sow your stuff in your modules and get them in the ground in time.
yeah, definitely. It did make me laugh when I read that one, almost as much as it made me laugh when I saw Trude had put that how many times she'd had to pause, rewind and watch the mouse jump out. I was howling at that one. Well done, Trude.
When I look at my analytics, there's a proper little spike where the mouse bit is, so I know people have watched that several times.
Including me.
Obviously, you have mains on your plot, so this isn't something necessarily that would work for you and how you do your watering in your polytunnel.
I could go out and buy, if I wanted to, a hose tap timer thing for mine and just let it water on a soaker hose because I have that main pressure. Obviously, you don't have that mains pressure. So, I could have irrigation. It's not something that I personally ever factored in. Same as you, it just never occurred to me to have an irrigation system. If I was redesigning the polytunnel again, would I do it now? I'm not entirely certain, in the sense that watering the polytunnel for me is such a small part time-wise of watering the entire plot. So I guess when we have summers like this summer, I'm still going to be spending an hour or so watering the plot. So the 5 minutes it takes to water the polytunnel is neither here nor there. But as we were talking earlier, if we had a wet summer like last year, then actually irrigation in the polytunnel would have saved me and Duncan, when me and my daughter go away to Silverstone, it would have saved Duncan the time and me the worry had they been watered.
The worry,
yeah. So it's there, it's on my mind to potentially retrofit something, but it won't be your kind of system, simply because I don't have the need for that. But I think it's an absolutely astounding system, and watching you put it together, because it comes with a fairly hefty price tag compared to some of the really cheap things that you can see, it's night and day. It's clearly built to last. I really liked the little feature where, the little slidey bits that hide the screws.
Oh, I know.
I thought, just, again, attention to detail. That spoke to me. That spoke to me.
And I think you can see it in because this being an upgraded model, which is why the instructions didn't quite fit. And when I was looking at the old model of the valve part of it, it was quite complicated to kind of put together, and it looked a bit ugly. Whereas now it's this kind of nice, it's the proper screws on it and things, and so much easier to put together. So yeah, they're definitely looking at the quality. It's quality, really.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
It is a quality piece of kit. It is. And I imagine, as I've heard from their reviews, they've got excellent customer service, haven't they? So,
they've been really
if something goes wrong, they're going to be back in touch with you. So, yeah.
Are there any other sort of techie things that you feel make you work smarter, not harder? You're quite we're not very techie, are we?
I'm not. I think people would expect me to be higher tech in terms of gadget sense. And I'm not. I've got one of those Govee thermometers that has an app, a digital thermometer that comes with an app on your phone that will show you the weather trends in your greenhouses, minimum, maximum. I don't even have to go outside and look, is it getting cold tonight? Maybe I should shut the door. Maybe I should fleece up. It's all on Wi-Fi. Obviously brilliant for me because Wi-Fi extends to my garden, so I can use that system. They've been in a box for nearly 2 years. I haven't installed them yet. That's, I don't often work smarter, to be fair. And it's like, I had a comment, Jane Kennedy commented on my video at the weekend to ask why the compost bins were so far away from the rest of the garden. And I thought, this is a huge reason to say I'm not working smarter either. I am working definitely harder. They used to be right by the polytunnel, and they've moved for 2 reasons. One, I also had little rodent furry visitors, and I was getting them in the polytunnel as well, and I haven't seen any anywhere near the polytunnel since I moved the compost bins away from down the side of it. But also I want to put an archway where those compost bins were. And then I didn't design the rest of the plot to have them anywhere else on the garden. And I nearly put them where the raspberry hedge that I've put in was. When we were extending the plot, I thought, I could build kind of a fence between me and Joe kind of there, really, by having the compost bins there. But then it occurred to me that if you think from where they would be to the bottom end of the garden where the asparagus and things are, that's still then a long way to walk through more narrower pathways and lots of twists and turns. And I thought, do you know what, just leave them where they are. At the moment, I'm happy to wander about and do them. Duncan didn't want them on the fence that is sort of parallel to the pond, though, because when you're sitting in the house, we can see through the windows out across that part of the garden towards the pond and down the fields a little bit. So he didn't want to have compost bins there. He wanted that fence line to stay clear. That's a beautiful view of the
compost bins.
Yeah, he didn't want the view of the compost bins, Kerry. No. So I don't make easy jobs there.
But you've got some pretty serious equipment. So even though your compost bays are a bit further away, you've got Duncan in a telehandler bringing you manure from the farmyard over to the garden.
Yeah, straight over the fence for me. I mean, all of my working smarter, not harder, is not relatable to the majority of our audience because there's not that many people, I wouldn't have thought, that watch us that live a similar lifestyle to me.
We've talked about this, haven't we? And that why wouldn't you, if that's available to you and you can do that. You're not going to go shovel farmyard manure like however many meters away into a wheelbarrow to bring all the way over.
I mean, I was thinking about compost, because I always say that, to me, working smarter, not harder, would be to have bulk compost delivered, instead of going to get lots and lots of bags that cost more money as well. And then you've got to lug them to the car, from the car to the plot. And then I thought to myself, that will not work for a lot of people with plots. You can have compost dropped onto your plot. I can have it literally put straight over the fence. But a lot of people don't have that vehicular access right to their plot. So actually for those, wheelbarrowing from a bulk bag that's parked on a car park miles away from the plot is never going to be working smarter than it is for them to physically go to the shop and buy compost bags and take them straight to their plot with a little wheelbarrow. So I kind of understand that what's smarter for us or me and you isn't actually smarter for everybody, is it? It's very much dependent on where your growing space is.
Exactly. And this is, it's about what's smarter for you. And I think this can get forgotten because we occasionally get a skip delivered to our site. And as soon as it gets there, it's full. You blink your eye and it's full. Everybody's like, quick, everything, get anything in a skip. There are lots of people here who do not have cars, who they wheel their wheelbarrow round the streets down into the plot. And that's what they've got. Or they've got a pull along trolley. We've got a couple of people who come on scooters. They scoot down the paths on the plot and things. So, but a lot of people, like, a skip is a necessity if you've got rubbish to get rid of because there's no other way. So it's definitely about you.
And even
talking
for
about
me,
go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, even me, we have to have skips because our farm is registered as a commercial address. So when we go to the local tip and they ask for your postcode now when you get there to see that you're eligible to use the local tip, as soon as we give our postcode, we are charged because we are commercial property. So even though we can be getting rid of something that is household for us, the same as you or anybody else, because we're registered as a commercial business address, then we don't get access to the tip like that. We have to get someone else to take it for us.
Just going to go back to the composting because this was one of the ones talked about on the community page as well. I think it was Kathleen who was talking about putting compost bays in the middle of the plot because that makes it more efficient, both for putting stuff into the compost bays and then also getting out and onto the beds. And then thinking about it on the beds, one of the things, it was funny, both Mark and I had this idea, I think because we got some Dalek compost bays from a plot that's not got anyone on at the moment, so we thought we'll have those. And he put one in right in the middle of one of the beds that is being overwintered and started putting stuff in it. And as soon as he was doing it, it's like, I had that idea too, that why not compost directly on the bed over winter? And then you can just pull the Dalek off, spread it out in the spring. So things like that, those little mulching generally, I mean, as a way of working smarter, not harder. We've been obviously doing the green manures and experimenting those this year, but you were mulching your asparagus. You put some mulch on the Jerusalem artichokes as well, didn't you? And just using material that you had. Well, I was using grass clippings from the church, which have got all leaves mixed in with them now because of the time of year. So that's quite good because you've got browns and greens in together. So I was putting those on top of the beds. And I'd emptied some of my potato buckets. So the compost was in there I was using to mulch my asparagus bed as well. So mulching is a good, I think, smarter, not harder way of working. Any ones that you want to bring up, Claire? I've got a lot on my list here from people on the community page and ones that I've thought of.
I honestly don't think that I'm very good at this idea. I mean, I would say, I guess, if you struggle with your back and things, but I think we're going to do an episode regarding this in more detail. But obviously raised beds, for me, raised beds and having the wood chip paths, it means I don't have to mow grass paths.
Yeah.
So that is definitely working smarter for me.
We talked about and also, your corners.
Yeah, 184 corners that I'd have to trim around. No, thank you. And then the other thing to note is that, make sure your paths are wide enough to get a wheelbarrow down. because it's all well and good having these really fanciful, nice curved paths. Don't want anything to look linear. It looks all boring and a bit staid. And I want this nice windy path, and it looks beautiful. Honestly, I agree. But when you start coming to want to empty these beds or plant stuff out or move compost or manure or whatever it is around, then you start regretting that you can't fit your wheelbarrow down. In Facebook groups, when I first set up the plot, I had so much hatred. I mean, Facebook is a little bit vicious in compared to the nice space that YouTube is.
Yep.
That how much wasted space there was. You'd get kicked off the plot if you were here. You'd get kicked off. You haven't got enough cultivation, all that wasted space with paths. And, to me, it's ease. So the wide paths at the top of each row are just over a metre. I think they're 1.10 m. And then the little paths between the length side of the beds are all at least 60 centimetres, so that you can kneel down between the beds and I can get my wheelbarrow between them. So I guess working smarter starts from the planning of your plot. It's to think about the planning.
Because I think sometimes you think, I can fit a wheelbarrow down. I mean, the wheel of the wheelbarrow will go down or whatever. And even if you think in the width, but once you want to turn one and tip it, that's a whole other story. You need a lot of space for that.
More space.
Now I've got the slab paths, which are an absolute game changer after having grass paths, wiggly grass paths as well on the old plot. I had to make one straight line up the plot when I got it, because I couldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
This obstacle course every time I wanted to get to the back of the plot. But I also made additional wood chip paths within my beds so that I could step on those and I wasn't compacting the soil. Now, those are very narrow because I was taking up bed space to put those in. But I'm so thankful that I did. I don't need to get a wheelbarrow down them. They're not for that. They're just for places where you can step so you can harvest or plant, and they're fine for that. And I love the fact that because they're cardboard and wood chip, they're feeding the soil as well as providing that pathway. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So paths was on the list, Claire. Well, the other one I had, I was thinking about the brassica cages that I made out of those tables that I found on the street, and just generally things that you find and repurposing them for the plot. Now, we're a bit different on this because you have your beautiful garden space that's in your home, and that is different from being on a plot, where I think in an allotment, there's a culture of repurposing, mending and make do. You see the most bizarre things on allotment plots. So I've got my little tables with nets over them to protect the brassicas. Obviously, I've got my old bathtub for water capture. And my cousin had made a little cover. I'm trying to think what she was covering now. It might have just been something like the beetroot or celeriac, but it was quite a low growing vegetable, and she'd got this little plastic frame around it and some netting over. I'm like, what's this frame that you've got like this? And it was from a flimsy greenhouse, and she'd just put it down flat on the ground. And I was like, oh, what a great idea. And we know I've got a back garden, the very end of the garden, full of them. And I thought, once you've finished in the spring and you don't need all that storage for seed trays, what a great way of continuing to use them through the season without having to buy anything in addition. And obviously lots of ways to make covers for crops using the piping and things like that.
The thing that saved me a lot of time is all of my beds are the same size. They're all 2.4 meters by 1.2 meters. So I like to make the covers the size. I need a 3 meter by 5 meter piece of mesh to cover all of my beds. And I like to cable tie the ends of them, so they're sort of like a little ponytail at each end.
Yeah.
And I can move those covers around the beds instead of having to make them every time. Little things like that, I've got to keep cutting them. I know that if I make them, I can take them to the bed next to it and whatever as the season changes. That they fold up quite nice and small. It doesn't affect you folding them, but that has saved me a massive amount of time. Having standardized size beds around your vegetable garden is just wonderful. It doesn't matter when you're running out of space to plant something. I can put it in any of the beds because they're all the same size. They're all going to fit. The hoops are the same size. It's, to me, that makes a big difference. And it takes a bit of a headache away from when you're planning things, because you can't plan everything. some crops finish earlier than you expect, some are later than you expect. So yeah, get your beds a standard size, and then you can make these covers and move them around. Definitely.
I don't have that.
No, you
Remember when I
don't.
was trying to find the netting to put on top of those tables that I'd made into the brassica
Yes.
things? I was
backwards and
forth from that
forwards.
greenhouse
Yes.
with all different lengths. None of them fit. Even the ones
Whereas
on
I
them
know
now
I
are
can go
brilliant.
to my little bench seat that has got them in and just go and grab the first one, and it's going to fit.
Another work smarter, wasn't it? Having the bench storage at a good place in the plot where you've got access to it, rather than trying to dig through a shed or a greenhouse trying to find that right bit of netting. I like this one from Bridget. She said about keeping no, sorry, that wasn't. Yes, it's down here. Keeping records and having a diary of what you're doing so that you can always go back and refer to planting out times or what happened the year before and things like that. Are you good at keeping records, Claire?
I start off with all good intentions, and I don't even think I get past the first week in January. I mean, not that I'm sowing much in the first week in January, but I start off doing that and then I forget. And I mean, to be fair, it's the main reason why I started the YouTube channel anyway, because I know I'm no good at writing diaries and journals and things like that. No good at it whatsoever. But I am good at being able to go back and watch things. I like visual representations anyway. I prefer that. So I have YouTube, and actually, and then because I have the YouTube channel, I'm even more in the back of my mind thinking I don't need to write it down because it'll be in my video. But then as well as I do, if you want something from an old video, how many videos do you end up watching to try and find that anyway?
Goodness.
So actually, it would make more sense to do a chart. I mean, I made lovely plans for the garden each month with a drawing of it, and I started filling them in. It looked absolutely beautiful. Then I went rogue and planted things in the wrong place. So I was forever crossing things out, and it didn't look pretty anymore. So please print me another one, Duncan. And I just get sidetracked with those things. But organization helps you to work smarter.
Yes.
It does, because you can do twice as much work if you forget that you've sown something or you haven't sown it in the first place. And then, I mean, that's a cost thing though, because then you end up going out to buy things, a bit like you with your onion seedlings. I know you tried to sow them, so it wasn't your fault. But, when you have that kind of failure, then obviously you have to go and buy the sets. And I mean, they're not exactly expensive in comparison to buying another packet of seeds anyway, are they? So that's probably not the best example. But being organised, definitely. But for me,
how are you organised then? So if it's not through keeping diaries and stuff, so you're just not organised?
I'm not.
Sorry,
I'm not
I made
organised.
that sound really like I was telling you off there, Claire.
No, I'm not organised.
You're not organised, Claire.
No, that is my entire point.
How are you not organised with a plot of that size?
I don't know. I just wing it, Kerry. I just wing it.
That's me. I'm the winger. You're meant to be the sensible one.
I have the book, so I have the allotment book, and I love that allotment book. So
is that the month by month one?
Yeah. And I do read in that to see what is it I should be doing this month, and it kind of, I mean, sometimes I think, oh yes, I've done all of those things. Look at me, I know what I'm doing now. Sometimes I think I'm supposed to be doing what, and then I have to get around to doing it. But I tend to go and check that out to remind me.
Of course, I have the Sarah Raven diaries, which I absolutely love. I think this year will be my 5th year of using those. Now, I didn't use it as much as I normally would last year because I was trying out the spreadsheet method this year because I had so many crops and varieties to keep track of. I am not growing that amount of stuff again. I did like the spreadsheet and I was good on it. I kept up to it until about, I would say, August. So when the sowing was just generally over is when I kind of lost track with it. But I had columns for like when you harvest things and stuff like that, but I haven't really been filling those out. I think the primary driver for it was the sowing dates and when I was pricking out. So that was mostly what I used it for. But it meant I didn't put as much in the diary because I was filling that in. But I love looking back at those diaries. I put the weather in there. I put obviously what I've planted, what I've been cleaning up and tidying and things. So periodically there's the transformation of the back of the garden when I get around to clearing it and things like that. I go back and see like when I pruned something and I put in the back of it my varieties of potatoes and garlic and onions, those sorts of things, because you plant them so early, and of course they're in the diary from the year before if you've put your garlic in a timely fashion before Christmas. So I put those in the back of the diary so I can look quite easily at what they were. But yeah, I guess it's the teacher in me. I am there because you wouldn't think it looking at my plot that I'm an organized person. But actually behind the scenes I am. And that was the other thing that Bridget said on the community page about using winter, using your evenings or rainy days to do prep work like that. So I think she was saying about finding the seed packets of the things that you want to sow and writing out the labels in advance, because I find that such a faff, and labels comes up with someone else as well, that because I do my little lollipop stick labels, and you're kind of doing the sewing, you've got dirty fingers, and then you're like, oh, where's my pen? Where's my lolly stick? The lolly stick's got damp, so the pen won't work on it, whatever. But if you've done all that in advance and you've got your seeds, you've got your lolly stick, it's so much quicker. And I did it with the tomatoes this year and it was good. I had all the tomatoes written out on the lolly sticks ready to go in. So that was good. Who said about labels, Claire, and writing on the pot? How do you do your labels?
I just use the normal white labels that you can buy, and I write on with a permanent UV stable marker. I mean, are they ever UV stable? Probably not. But
pens are a pain, aren't they?
I've used
things that have faded before, and that's a real pain because you're like, I wrote this label and now there's nothing on it.
The thing that works the best for me is acrylic paint pen. And you can get acrylic paint pens off with the acetone nail polish. So the nail polish remover that you would use for people that have got gel nails, posh nails. So you can get them off with that. But I mean, I say this is good because that's what all my tree labels are made with. But have I actually done it for my plant labels? No, I haven't. And someone was saying that they made instead of doing that, they actually had a little chart, didn't they? So what they do is
what Gary
number
said.
it was Gary, was it?
I found it.
He numbers the trays, doesn't he? And then goes back to a corresponding thing, a list.
And I think Ali at My Rusty Garden does that as well. And Gary's given credit to Nigel at Bunny Boots for doing this as well.
Yeah.
So he was saying he uses electrical tape and writes it on the cell tray or on the pot.
Yeah.
Liam's dad, who has an allotment, I've had plants from him before, and he's written on the side of the pot just in kind of a white marker pen what the thing is. And that I thought, why don't I do that? Because when you stick a label in the top, they come out, and if you pot on, you've got to. But then I suppose if you've got a pot on and you've written on the pot, you've got to remember to write on the new pot as well.
I think if you're giving a plant away to somebody, especially, you're writing on the pot that you give it to them away with. One, it doesn't take up one of your labels because you've given the pot away anyway, haven't you? Maybe that's not a bad idea. I've had things given to me that have been written on with marker pen. So yeah, I think that's it's a good idea because, well, it's just so confusing if you don't know what's what. And I struggle with labels anyway because the birds pull them out. Magpies or crows pull them out of the ground. Yeah, they pull them out. So maybe I should use my plan that I made and actually draw in my beds and get them done that way. Because all of my beds, I number the beds. So in my head, I know a number that I call the beds by the number, but I don't correspond that to anything. So I don't know why so I don't use it. But I don't do much to make things easier for myself, really. And I think
so you keep saying, Claire.
But because I have more time, don't I? So because I'm work and based at home, I can afford to waste time. For me, a lot of the work smarter, not harder ideas aren't all physical. A lot of it is time management, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I think in my head, I'm thinking it more in terms of time. But, generally efficiency, isn't it? Because the other labelling thing I've done for the last two or 3 years is to put the variety of tomato at the top of the piece of string.
Yeah.
Worked perfectly well again this year. Like that didn't fade or anything. I use Posco pens for my labels and they work great. And and they all stayed up there. And every time I went in and harvested, I knew exactly what I was harvesting. Of course, I put them all in one big basket and mix them all up in there. So that wasn't so great. But what I did do when I knew I wanted to save seed or do the taste testing was put another sticky label onto each of the tomatoes.
I thought that was genius. I honestly thought that was absolutely genius.
But it was another thing is working harder, really. I was working harder because I wanted to do the taste testing, because I wanted to save seed. Whereas the easy thing to do is just eat your tomatoes. Just eat your tomatoes. Especially as in the end, they all tasted pretty much the same to me anyway.
As we've established many times.
Yep.
As we've established many times. I think another thing for me in terms of a growing point of view is that it's actually, we're very quick at getting everything planted in the ground and all at the same time. So if I'm sowing cabbages, I'll sow several trays of cabbages. And I know you've done exactly the same thing in the past. I'm not very good at succession sowing because I fill the beds for the season. And then actually what I end up having is 12 cabbages already in the same week. And so then I'm working harder, but not so much from the gardening point of view, is from the processing point of view, because you have so much to process all at once. And especially when you're getting into the season where we're doing the preservings and things, there's so much to do. But then obviously when I harvested the carrots at the weekend, I didn't go and process them. They're still in the fridge. So you just stick them in a carrier bag, tie a knot in it, tape it over so there's no air inlet in the carrier bag, and they will store in the fridge. Don't wash them, don't do anything, and they will store in the fridge for the longest time. So, if you've done a huge harvest and you think, I've got to go and process the carrots and I've got to go and do the cabbages and your tomatoes and everything else, it's such a lot, isn't it? But actually, there are ways of making that easy for yourself. One is not have everything ready at the same time. Only harvest what you need to eat. Yeah. I'm terrible for not doing that. I get carried away. Like, oh, look at these carrots. I'll just harvest them all. And then I'm like, why have I done that? I go in the house with this mountain of carrots that might not look that big when you're on the garden, but when you get in the house and you think,
yes,
that's a lot to wash and chop and peel and put in the freezer. So yeah, it's to not overwhelm yourself with those jobs because it's hard. It's hard work. It's hard having a plot, isn't it? It's not just the preparing the ground. It's not just the growing of the vegetables and even the harvesting. You then take that produce in the house and you have so much more work to do. It's another job in itself, isn't it? So
it's a good job.
Definitely.
We love it, Claire. Good job.
We do love it. We do love it.
Let's go back to sowing then. So not sowing everything all at once. So this is what I'm terrible for, in particular brassicas. I don't know why. I do know why. It's because I have a seed buying habit. And so I have a ton of varieties of every because already in the brassica family, you've got so many different vegetables. Yeah. Then you multiply those by 5 or 6 varieties for each. And you end up sowing a lot of brassicas. And year on year on year, I have brassicas that are just teeny tiny, struggling things in cells that never got into the ground. So something that has been a revelation for me this year is nursery beds. Nursery beds, direct sowing is the other one, and try not to sow so much would be good. I think next year I'm going to do a lot more in the actual ground. So even if I start things off in cells, and then I don't know where they're going to go, I'm just going to stick them in a nursery bed so that they've got their roots in something that's going to feed them. And I feel this is a peat-free compost thing because the peat-free compost just doesn't have enough nutrition to keep little seedlings going. So you've either got to keep potting on or you've got to be feeding them as little seedlings. And for some reason in my head, I find this really hard that a seedling only that big needs feeding. I feel like it should still be fending for itself. But so I've had I would say success with direct sowing this year, particularly with ornamentals. And that's built my confidence in doing more direct sowing. Amanda said in the community page about direct sowing things like lettuce, dill, coriander, or letting them self-seed actually, was what she said. And I thought about you in your video, burying your amaranth flowers.
Yeah.
So in the hope that seeds come up. And those amaranth, because I had some of your amaranth very early in the season, much earlier than mine ones were growing. And because it was early in the season, it went to seed. It self-seeded all around itself and in the cracks of the path. And then I've had another display of amaranth later in the season because of that. So that was lovely.
Yeah.
But I think trusting nature, that's
Yes.
a work smarter, not harder. Just trust that nature will do the work for you and that things generally want to grow. What about you for direct sowing? You direct sow the things that you must, carrots, parsnips. What about brassicas and things like that? Have you ever done any direct sowing of those?
I don't think I have direct sowed brassicas, but I do like direct sowing, the things like the swede and the beetroot. I've done all of those. And I think for me, it's something that I probably should do more often. And we could have gotten away with so much more this year because we didn't have the slug pressure, did we? So the main reason I would sow in salves is to get them strong enough to survive slugs. And I also think it's a patience thing, isn't it? Because we can sow things earlier if we're sowing them under cover. Got the greenhouse, why not? And you're just impatient to get going. Whereas actually, they struggle so much that we might as well just give ourselves a bit of a break, sow a little bit later, whether that be direct sowing or whatever. And you don't need to, even if you're sowing in a seed cell, you don't need to pot on quite so many times before they're in the ground. Yeah. Whereas look how many times we are potting on things like the chilies and not so much the tomatoes because, they thrive on neglect, but the chilies don't. But, we sow them so early and I must pot them on 4 or 5 times. And not only is that a lot of money in terms of compost, so financially you're working harder to pay for the plot. It's the time, and all of the pots that you're buying. I do think sow a bit later and then get them in the ground earlier, maybe 1 pot on and then get them in. Or obviously, yes, do some more direct sowing. Direct sowing for me is going to be 100% dependent upon the spring that we have next year.
Yeah.
And I will do the beans, French beans, peas. I will direct sow those.
Yes, I did all the beans this year. I direct sowed those in the end. I think because did I lose the ones in the south? I can't remember. I think, no, I don't think they grew. Didn't I do a whole load of things in root trainers that didn't even grow? Oh, that was my sweet corn.
I struggled with sweet corn.
Faulty
I
seed
struggled.
Sweet corn.
Yeah.
Now, one of the ones that we were talking about last week was leaving dahlias in the ground. And I said, save that for next week, because I have always lifted my dahlias and stored them over winter in the house. Last year, I left some in the garden in the herb and dahlia bed that I'd created, and I mulched them with wood chip, but the wood chip was too heavy. The poor little dahlias couldn't get up. So I made a mistake there, but I dug those dahlias up. They're all now in my new dahlia beds. There's about 40 to 50 dahlias in those 2 beds. There's no way that I'm digging all those. I don't even have anywhere to put them if I dug them up. So I am leaving in the ground this year. I'm intending to mulch heavily, but not with a foot of wood chips so they can't get through. And also, so mulch them and cover them, I think, because obviously rain is the thing that you have to be wary of with dahlias. It's not so much the cold, it's them getting soggy and rotting. So have you left dahlias in the ground before, Claire? Are you confident, or is this the first year?
I have, but not intentionally. So I have a few dahlias that are growing in the polytunnel flower beds out the front. And I'd completely forgotten that there was dahlias in there. By the time everything had died back and they'd gone, I'd totally forgotten. And obviously they've come back this year, and it was very wet at times in the garden there last year. And in fact, they were in the year before as well. So they've been left in the ground for 2 seasons now. But I've intentionally built those beds on the extension for the dahlias to be double the height, so that the roots of those dahlias hopefully will be out of the ground level, because our water table is high here. So I am leaving mine in the ground. I intend to mulch them with just compost, and I'm planning to either put those greenhouse cloches that I've got, that we've both got them, haven't we, the little mini greenhouse cloches, a couple of those over them because the beds are the right width to fit 2 of those over them, or I'm just going to put quite a bit of fleece over them, and potentially I might just put a little bit of membrane over them to just keep the worst of the rain off them. that's going to save a huge amount of time.
Yeah.
And to be fair, money for me as well, because I was terrible at actually drying them. I got them all out of the ground. I tried to let them cure a little bit in the greenhouse, and then I left them there. So they rotted in the greenhouse.
Oh,
They never even
no.
made it in the house. Never even made it in the house. So I'm just
Claire.
leaving them. I know, terrible. I'm just leaving it in
If
the.
only
I'm
you
just
were more
leaving them.
organised.
I know, definitely. Well, I just kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, and then So no, they're staying in the ground.
I think for me, the real time saver is not actually going to be so much digging them up and putting them into storage. It's the spring when you start potting them up and they take up so much space.
Yeah.
And 40 to 50 are going to take up an awful lot of space. But I just haven't got the room for that many dahlias now. So they've got to take their chances. Now, I had dahlias in the ground on the old plot that came back. And that was a very soggy plot. And it was a very soggy year. And they still came back and they were fine. And I do have some in my front garden that I don't mulch or anything, but it is a bit of a microclimate in there with the brick wall. So, but they come back every year absolutely fine. So I'm fairly confident we're going to be okay. I'm probably going to use a bit of tarp to cover mine. I hadn't thought about the mini cloches though. So I could do that. Okay.
Yeah. Definitely.
Let me have a quick look, because I'm conscious of the time, of what we've not covered. So, being equipment ready. So a few people said this. Gary was talking about wearing his dungas with lots of pockets. Jeanette was talking about having an apron with lots of pockets. Robin was saying about going out with a trug and tools and the string that she might need for things, or bags that she might need for seed saving. I think a couple more people agreed with that. So being equipment ready when you're going out there is a great idea. We had a comment, I think, about no dig and doing no dig as a more efficient way of gardening, but we're going to do a whole week on dig or no dig coming up. So we'll talk about that then. I had down letting leaves rot where they fall. Now, this might be one where I'm just preempting what people might say about the fact that my ginkgo tree, my poor ginkgo tree that we showed in its full glory, was it just last week? 1 week later, there ain't a leaf on that thing. It is completely bare. Poor thing. And my ground is completely covered with the ginkgo leaves. But I've got a bed directly under that ginkgo tree, a very dry bed because the tree sucks up all the moisture. And I've just let the leaves all fall onto that and they will rot there and create their own mulch. I do, however, need to sweep the path and take them off of that.
Oh, yes, of course.
Otherwise, I'm going to be slip sliding down there. The other advantage of leaving the leaves is, of course, creating habitat over winter. I think there's just one thing that I missed off. Oh, actually, there's a couple of things. So when we were talking about sowing, Pammy's advice, or what she does, was only sow what you need plus 10% for failures, or plugging gaps. So that was a good one. My penultimate one on the list was perennials. Investing in perennials take a lot less work, and generally, and I love perennials. I do. We talked about the berries last week and this being a good time to get those in. But also I was just looking out at the Austerian tree cabbage and the Tortondine kale that I put into Liam's garden. He does know they're there. He knew after the fact that I'd put them in. And they just keep producing. They're absolutely fabulous. And clearly he does nothing to look after those plants, and yet they're thriving. And my very last one to end on then is cut corners and see what you can get away with.
Yeah.
I feel that's way more my motto than yours though, Claire. Sometimes it backfires, but
I think you learn to be able to cut corners as you become more experienced anyway, because
and
you do understand what you
yeah.
can get away with, don't you? I mean, it's very different as inexperienced gardeners. I follow the rules, but everyone grows things differently. You only have to watch YouTube gardeners. We're all doing a similar thing or growing similar things, but we're all doing it in slightly different ways. And what works for one isn't going to work for another, and vice versa.
I think that's a good point to end on as well, because like we said at the beginning, some things work for your circumstances and not for others. However, I hope that we've given lots of good tips and tricks in this week's episode that help people to work smarter, not harder. So teasers for next week. Right. Don't forget the giveaway is the first one. So comment on this video. Comment on this video, and that's your entry. We will filter out if you're not from the UK, but if you want to pop on, I'm in the UK, I want your giveaway, then that's fine. Get an extra entry by going on to our community page and posting a picture of whatever you like, garden related. Don't have to be in the picture, just put a picture on, and that gets you an additional entry into the giveaway. What can we expect from your video next week, Claire? And is there anything that you're planning to do this week that we can keep you accountable for?
I think it's time because, you know, we had a little bit of a frost last night and we're getting a lot more frost as the week goes on. It's time to empty the polytunnel. So I think my main attention is going to be in the polytunnel this week. What about you? What are you doing this week?
I was going to say I'm ahead of you there, Claire, because I've done my polytunnel.
You
Actually,
did.
A lot of your stuff has already come out, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
So yes, I have done that. And I do feel that, I mean, that's really what my next video is about, is getting ready for the cold weather and those final little things. So expect some pumpkin harvesting and things like that. To keep me accountable, I've still not put my garlic in, Claire. No. The elephant obviously is in. I've still not put my regular garlic in. I'm not sure where we are on the biodynamic calendar now. I've probably missed that window. I'm going to have to wait again. But yes, it's definitely, I've been carrying it around with me. I've been up and down to that plot with my backpack with this garlic in and those aqua dulce broad beans, and they're still not in the ground. However, I think after this weather this week, there's going to be a big clear up on the plot to come, and then there should be spaces to put things in. So hopefully when we meet next week, we can talk about my garlic going in. Now, we're not sure of our topic next week because we've got our order, but we might need to move them around a bit. So we shall let you know shortly what next week's topic will be. But we hope you'll join us.
Yes, we absolutely do.
Sorry, I left a gap for you to come in there then, Claire. I thought, oh no, Claire ends the episodes, not me.
It's fine. You can end the episode. Take it away. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope that you are looking forward to the giveaway. And please don't forget to head to the website. If you can't wait, you can still buy these. They are really good, aren't they? And we will look forward to, oh, look at Kerry. Modeling. That's what we need to do. We need to advertise them with pictures of you wearing the things that we are going to sell. Thank you very much. Yes, we should. We should. Thank you very much for joining us. We are so thrilled to be back, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Bye.